On the news tonight, ECOWAS observers arrive Nigeria. Day of Zero Tolerance against Female Genital Mutilation marked in Abuja. Plus, INEC to reprint Abia Brand's PVCs. Hello and welcome to PTV Tonight. I am Poloum, David. Barely 9 days to the commencement of the general elections, observers from the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, held a turn-up meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in a delegation led by the immediate past Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The ECOWAS observer mission said in meeting INEC to add up to their research so far. Emmanuel Bagudi completes the story.
Journalists and members of the election umpire are waiting the arrival of a special guest. And after a short while, the door opens. It's the ECOWAS observer mission led by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Liberia's immediate past president. And for her, it's a great honor considering Nigeria's input in the development of Liberia and Africa.
And that's why it's a great pleasure for me to be a part of this process. Having gone through a political transition myself, having gone through these processes of peace after years of destruction, I'm very pleased that I will be a part of what we know will be in Nigeria, the process of election that ensures that Nigeria continues to play the pivotal role of leadership that it does in our continent.
INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, who is also the chairman of ECOWAS Network of Electoral Commissions, ECONEC, assured the mission of his knowledge of his role both as INEC and ECONEC chairman.
I want to assure you that as we approach the 2019 general elections, the Commission is not unaware that the eyes of the world are on Nigeria and on our election. This Commission will not fail Nigerians, will not fail the sub-region, and will not fail the world. We are going to prove that what happened in 2015 was simply not a fluke, and that 2019 is also going to be yet another landmark in our democratic process. We look forward to the report of your committee, of your mission, and the recommendations that will arise from your observation of the process, because your recommendations will be very critical for us in forging ahead.
The election umpire seems ready to welcome any observer from now up till the commencement of the polls.
Still talking FGM, the 6th of February annually is marked as the International Day for Zero Tolerance of Female Genital Mutilation. The 2019 edition, which was marked in Abuja on Wednesday, saw gender justice activists calling on traditionalists and other Nigerians involved in the FGM practice.
Female genital mutilation, FGM, has been a traditional practice in some parts of the world, especially Africa. Over the years, the World Health Organization found out that the practice has no health benefits for the victims. Instead, it damages the female reproductive health. This prompted the adoption of February 6th as a day of zero tolerance for female genital mutilation. Here in Nigeria, the 2019 edition of the day was celebrated in Abuja and had gender activists from different spheres calling for its complete abolition.
The female circumcision removes the pleasure that a woman has in sexual intercourse, and so it becomes something not pleasurable to her. It can affect her attitude, and then the husband may also not be happy with her sexual performance, and because she doesn't have the pleasure that she should have from it, it can lead to many other social problems. And that's why the female genital mutilation is a very central issue, and rather than the male.
Side by Side has a plan of sensitization, using radio, television, seminars, conference, workshops, bringing together all the stakeholders, including those who perform the female genital mutilations themselves. Most of them are the traditional medical female who receive children normally at birth. So they are to be included, they are to be sensitized, educated. And you have to provide, because for them it is also earning living. This is very important. And you have to provide an alternative for them, educate them, show them the danger of the practice.
The activists showed their determination to ending the FGM menace.
And while more activists continue to advocate for the abolition of female genital mutilation, PTV's correspondent tells us more about the FGM.
Female genital mutilation, FGM, also known as female genital cutting or female genital circumcision, is the ritual cutting or removal of some or all the external female genitalia. The practice is found in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, and within communities from countries in which FGM is common. The practice is customarily a family tradition that the young female of the age 0 to 15 would experience. It is a procedure that involves partial or completely removing the external female genitalia or other injury to the female genital organs whenever for non-medical reasons. The practice is mostly carried out by traditional circumcisers without proper knowledge of human anatomy and medicine. Despite the graveness of the issue, the practicing societies look on it as an integral part of their tradition and cultural identity. In the communities that follow excision of female genitalia, FGM is associated with ethnicity, culture, prevailing social norms, and sometimes its religious obligations. In majority of the cases, it has been documented that their own family members, such as parents, mainly mothers, grandparents, and grandmothers of the girls, are the perpetrators of this act. Ensuring daughters' virginity is a required task for them to arrange for her marriage, receive proper bride price, and for family honor. There is also the false belief still present in Nigeria that women believe that female circumcision increases sexual pleasure amongst men. Another belief is that it increases women's fertility, ability to procreate, and child survival. Due to immense social pressure and fear of exclusion from the community, families conform to this tradition. In Nigeria and other societies, girls who have not gone through FGM are considered as unmarriageable, unclean, and it is a social taboo. Girls who remain uncut may be teased or looked down upon in the society. Most times, these girls themselves desire to conform to peer as well as societal pressure out of the fear of stigmatization and rejection by their own community. They accept the practice as a necessary and normal part of life. In many communities, this particular practice is upheld as a religious requirement. Female genital mutilation or cutting is performed by Muslims, Christians, and Jews. However, it is carried out in some Muslim communities with the belief that it is demanded by the Islamic faith. In reality, though, there is no documentation of this practice in the holy texts of these religions. Moreover, the historical origin of the practice asserts that it predates the advent of all major religions of the world, including Islam. Often, older women become the moral gatekeepers in favor of this ritual to justify their own experience of genital cutting, and they tend to see any effort to eliminate the practice as a threat to their culture. Achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls is the fifth Sustainable Development Goal. But in Nigeria, it faces many problems due to many different resolutions not being in line with the religious and cultural beliefs of most of the Nigerian population and thus unworthy to be enacted as a Nigerian law. Data shows that the majority of people believe female genital cutting should end, but they cite social pressures to continue the practice with their daughters. Of some aged 15 to 49 polled between 2004 to 2015, 64% want to end the practice. Human rights activists believe the 2015 federal ban in Nigeria will influence other African countries, a region in which the practice is highly prevalent. Because of Nigeria's economic and political stronghold within the continent, Nigerians practice the following norms of female genital cutting or mutilation. Type 1 is the clitoridectomies are more common in the south of the country, and the more extreme methods like infibulation are prevalent in the north.
You're watching PTV Tonight. You can download our app PTV Nigeria in Google Play Store for Android or App Store for iOS. Keep up with us live on our website www.ptvng.com/live. Don't forget to follow our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be talking to a guest on female genital mutilation. Stay tuned. You're welcome back from that short break. Right now I've been joined at the studio by Reverend Dr. Israel Akonji. He's a co-chair of Side by Side Movement, an NGO on gender justice. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having you in our studios today. So we'll be talking about female genital mutilation today. You know, today is the World Day for Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. What comes to mind?
Thank you very much. Today being a World Day of Zero Tolerance on Female Genital Mutilation tells us that this particular phenomenon has called for a lot of global attention. For the United Nations to declare a day, which is also always February 6th
yes.
of every year, as a day for zero tolerance on this particular practice, means that the practice is known to be ongoing all over the world, and it has been tested to be a practice that is not safe, a practice that is not contributing in a positive way to the life of the woman or the girl that is the victim. And we say victim because we look at it as part of human rights violation. It is not with the consent of these children, these young girls, that these things are done. And scientifically, it's been proven that it is of no benefit, and it is a practice, therefore, that the entire United Nations and the whole world is calling us to put to an end completely. The practice is quite rampant in Africa and in Asia and other parts of the world. It is said even statistically that by research, over 200 million women have undergone this female genital mutilation. And so in Nigeria, of course, it is a practice going on amongst our people, and as we are celebrating the day worldwide, we are also celebrating it in Nigeria. And so our side-by-side movement for gender justice has taken this particular topic very seriously, and we are calling and appealing to all stakeholders to arise to help us. Stakeholders include religious leaders, it includes traditional leaders, because most of what we see about this female genital mutilation has to do with our culture, some beliefs, some myths, which have been actually proved wrong scientifically, and therefore, in line with development, global development, we too must arise to put behind us this practice.
Okay, let's talk about the evolution of this female genital mutilation. I mean, how did it all begin, especially in Nigeria?
Well, it is an old practice rooted in several cultures. We must say that in some parts of the country they have overcome this. In some other parts of the country, people are still very involved in it. Well, it's all developed. No one can really know the exact date when it started, but it has been long in our history that in most cultures, and as we have interviewed people and we have tried to ask questions on this practice, we discovered that people mention their grandparents, great-grandparents. In fact, the people who carry out this act are grandmothers who keep saying that it was done for them and it must be done for the modern generation, and on the simple reason that they want moral chastity in the female gender. The young girls should not be promiscuous, and they should live a clean life, and therefore this female circumcision or this mutilation of their body part, their genital part, will kind of reduce their tendency for passion, for premarital sexual behaviors, or even sex generally. So they feel a woman should be inactive as much as possible so that she will live a good life. But it is a counterproductive thing.
So what are the downsides? What are the ugly sides of this?
The ugly sides are numerous. Number one, the people who carry out this, they have no medical training about physiology, the body part of people. They use all kinds of tools to do it. We have seen some use just ordinary razor blade from outside. Some use some traditionally carved knives to do it, and sometimes they have several girls there on a given day, and they just go on from one girl to another girl to another girl, and so you know that this can even transfer infection from one person to another. The way it is done also leads to a lot of bleeding. There have been cases wherein the young girls involved did not survive it. At the end of the day, they died of it. But I think one of the most painful things from some of the studies on this particular practice is that it disallows a woman from having the pleasure that is in the sexual intercourse between a woman and a man. When they cut off that particular part of the body, the woman's sensation is reduced, her emotions and love for sex is reduced, and sometimes she now has a practice of not enjoying what she's doing. She sees sex like just a kind of labor to satisfy the man. She doesn't get any satisfaction in it. The man gets turned off. He starts thinking that this woman is not active enough in bed, and his eyes are on other people, and probably he falls into the hands of those who have not had that kind of mutilation. And therefore it can bring a lot of social issues. People will get other ladies pregnant or bring diseases back into the house. All kinds of social breakdowns can come.
What's the way out of this? What's the way out?
The way out of it, there is no single way out. There are several things to be done. Part of it is awareness, like what is happening, having a day to emphasize zero tolerance is a good way of making awareness to reach our various communities. But apart from that, we, in our own side-by-side movement, we have brought in a lot of stakeholders. We brought in traditional rulers so that when we go to their communities on advocacy, we'll be able to meet with them. They will call elders in their community, especially elderly women. We have amongst us women also, from leaders of Christian women, leaders of Islamic women. All of them together are part of this movement to go on advocacy. We hope to use the media a lot to do radio programs, and people can phone in, television programs. Then we are working on a lot of write-ups in brochures that will be taken around. But our organization is concerning gender justice generally. Female genital mutilation is just one aspect of it. We are concerned about domestic violence, child trafficking, ill-treatment of widows, all these practices, and we are putting them up in a small write-up to go from community to community, and side by side hopes to operate at the national level as we're operating. It's going to the state level, to local government level. So our way of reaching out is awareness, and we believe that you in the media, you will do us a lot of work by projecting this to the world.
Possible. Because now, finally, what areas do you think Africans, especially Nigerians, needs to do more?
Well,
so empty.
Yes, we need to do more on sex education. I believe that in Africa, when they talk about sex, people don't like talking about it. Even religious leaders, they don't like talking about it because they feel it's a taboo. Our culture weighs so much on us, so we don't want to talk about it. And but if you look at the Bible, for instance, as a Christian leader, from Genesis to Revelation, there is so much talk on sexuality, on things that have to do with sex, and you find people who did wrongly, people who married rightly. I mean, things about sexuality is loaded in the Bible. We have enough curriculum from the Bible to teach, but somehow go to average churches, pastors don't want to talk about it, because as soon as you start talking about it, people will say, well, how is it that this pastor knows so much about what he's saying? Could it be that he himself is not doing what? Because of such fears. Then sometimes we say, little children should not hear about sexuality because they are too small. We shouldn't corrupt their minds. But we have discovered now that even these little children we're talking about, what they know outside of us teaching them is much more than we know. True. Through the internet, through their friends. If you don't teach your children on sexual education, they will get their lessons from their peers, and they will get the negative teaching and they will go the wrong way. So I think that one important thing is to take the issue of sexual education very seriously, and we should begin to have sessions where we will train our mothers on how they should also engage their children and train them, and this especially the female children, but the male children also need to be taught sexual education, because we have a lot of young boys, they get a girl pregnant, they run away, they disfigure that girl's life and plans, and they don't want to be responsible. All things like this need to come under sexual education. So I believe that parents need to do more, and even in our various schools, when we teach morals and civic education, such things should be part of it, and parents should stop being shy of talking on sexual education. And one of those things parents should help us do is to make sure that female genital mutilation is discontinued. Please, let's break, especially grandparents who believe that it is a traditional thing, we have always done it in our family, and this little one, you must do the same. I believe that such should discontinue. We should find good avenues to explain to them that there is no profit in it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Reverend Dr. Israel Akonji. He's the co-chair of Side by Side Movement, an NGO on gender justice, and we'll be talking about female genital mutilation. Thank you so much once again for coming to our studios.
Thank you very much.
And now moving on with the news. The Benue State citizens are seeking urgent government intervention to humanitarian crisis rocking the internally displaced persons camps in the state. The made a call in Abuja on Wednesday. Emmanuel Ahijani completes the story.
It is a call to avert a major catastrophe and for a quick intervention by government, the international community, and for all well-meaning individuals and organizations. These people have left the theater of the crisis in Benue to the seat of government, believing that their voice will be heard while hoping for a quick response.
I thought DG NEMA was going to direct the flag of these grains so that they could be distributed to IDPs. Up till now, as I speak, the DG has not directed the flag off because that has to be done. I only received the grains to keep for them. They will have to officially come and flag off and direct me, or come and flag off and do the distribution with me to the IDPs who are dying of hunger. And because the IDPs have been there for over 1 year now, you can see that the state government alone, the state government alone, cannot effectively cater for their well-being.
Because of the destruction of, communities and schools, most schools were affected. And if I can't stay in my community, I can't access school. So this is it. The crisis has worsened the situation. It wasn't like that.
They gave a detailed profiling of the IDPs and their challenges.
Yes, this crisis started sometime in 2011, but there's no concrete data for the displacement in 2011 to 2017. This data was taken last year, 2018, and this is the first verifiable data to have been taken in Benue State with respect to this herdsmen-farmers conflict.
They also explained the importance of a proper data in assisting the victims.
It's been 1 year, and we thought that we should be very organized. We just realized the gap of data completely in the whole issues of displacement in Nigeria for over the years, not just last year, but for over the years. And so we thought that we should bring about this data and expose the challenges of the humanitarian challenge in Benue and North Central Nigeria.
Whoever was supposed to come, maybe an international partner or even a local partner or a local NGO, needed to know how many people were displaced. If I'm bringing food to the camp, what should I prepare? How many bags of rice should I bring? And all of that will be dependent on the number of people displaced. So it took a while because over 7 local governments were affected in Benue State. It took a while to put together resources, put together manpower, and go round, which is why the data is coming out at a point like this. That answers why it's coming out. But the need have been there from last year that the people were displaced. So now we have a data for planning, for policy, for further intervention. The needs of the people have not changed from last year. In fact, rather they are on the increase. But at least we have a working tool. We have a document to intervene now.
The message is clear, as IDPs are Nigerians and humans like us. It is time for everyone, irrespective of ethnic or political linings, to put it aside and to say no to these senseless sufferings of our people. Emmanuel Ejine, PTV News, Abuja.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says they will reprint the burnt permanent voters' cards in Abia State. INEC National Commissioner in charge of publicity, Festus Okoye, disclosed this to journalists on Wednesday in Abuja during an interactive session.
This interactive session between the election umpire and the media is to keep the public abreast of the rules and guidelines of the general elections. First among the vital issues are the 4 major changes in the Electoral Act.
This interactive program is designed to afford the INEC Press Corps the opportunity of a more relaxed encounter with the spokespersons of the Commission. It is designed to afford the INEC Press Corps the opportunity of clarifying basic issues in the electoral process. It is designed to solicit for the continuous cooperation and support of the INES Press Corps to the programs and policies of the Commission. You are more or less like the ambassadors of the Commission in the media, and some of you are embedded within the Commission, and this affords you the opportunity of first-hand information of the activities of the Commission, and also the opportunity of knowing where and how to clarify information at your disposal.
Another burning issue is the Abia Inferno, where thousands of PVCs were destroyed. Okoye said the affected electorate will not be disenfranchised and the perpetrators will be fished out.
On the issue of the PVCs that were burnt in Abia State, I think that the Nigerian people ought to express some level of outrage at what happened in Abia State. As a commission, we thought that the era of burning the local government offices of the commission had come to an end. We did not know that some people will still attempt to go and burn local government offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The resident electoral commissioners, as I pointed out, have been asked to beef up security at their various local government offices to prevent this type of thing from happening again.
This interactive session is expected to set the tone for public sensitization on the election rules and guidelines by the Nigerian journalist.
The Center for Citizens with Disabilities has appealed to the federal government to gather the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act for effective compliance in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The Executive Director of the group, David Anyele, said this on the sidelines of a one-day presentation on mapping needs of persons with disabilities. Anyele said the government must take into cognizance the relevance of a newly signed law and ensure total compliance at both the federal, state and local government levels. Similarly, Benson Oluwo, the Executive Director of Clean Foundation, a non-governmental organization, advised INEC and security agents to provide adequate security to ensure PWDs were given priority to cast their votes early. Olobo appealed that officials of the INEC and security officers should assist PWDs with interpretations in local dialect and pidgin where necessary. Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River State has presented the 2019 budget estimate of 10.043 trillion naira tagged budget of capitalistic densification to the Cross River House of Assembly for consideration and passage. Ayade, who presented the budget on Wednesday in Calabar, said it was meant to drive the industrialization agenda of his administration. According to him, the budget was designed to drive the realization of at least one industrial project in each local government area of the state, with a view to creating wealth and move the people away from poverty. Ayade said that the performance of the 2018 budget of 1.3 trillion naira was 74%, adding that the 2019 budget will be driven to create more jobs for the youth and industrialization. The governor, who did not give a breakdown of the budget in terms of personnel cost, recurrent revenue, overhead and statutory expenditures, urged the State Assembly to give the budget speedy consideration and passage. The Nigerian Postal Service (NIPO) said it is partnering with Saudi Arabia Post to deliver cargoes and parcels of pilgrims on Hajj from Saudi Arabia to Nigeria. Dauda Musa, the Director of Planning and Business Development of NIPO, made this known in an interview with newsmen on Wednesday in Abuja. According to him, a lot of Nigerians go to Saudi Arabia to perform Hajj, and while returning, they buy many gifts for family and loved ones that ordinarily would cost them fortunes to transport back. He said Post Office Worldwide is a network and has one umbrella called Universal Postal Union, and it is universally applicable in all countries. Dauda said all this has made it necessary for the two governments to come together and sign a memorandum of understanding to make things easy for Nigerian delegates on Hajj pilgrimage to the Holy Land. The Kano State Fire Service on Wednesday confirmed a fire outbreak that destroyed an upper section of a female hostel at the Kano University of Science and Technology, Wudil. The State Fire Service spokesman Saidu Mohammed in Kano said the incident, which occurred on Tuesday night, resulted from high voltage. He said a total of 30 rooms, 20 toilets and 4 kitchens were completely razed. Mohammed, however, said that no life was lost to the fire and that students were still at home because of the ASU strike. Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed of Kwara State has his own campaign posters circulating in parts of the state promoting him as a Kwara South senatorial candidate of the PDP. The governor made the clarification in a statement read by his senior special assistant on media and communications, Muhyiddin Akorede. He described the posters as fake since they were not approved, sanctioned and sponsored by him since he was no longer the PDP Kwara South senatorial candidate. The governor said he stood by his earlier decision to concede the PDP Kwara South senatorial ticket to the incumbent Senator Rafiu Ibrahim in the interest of equity and fairness, stressing also that he has formally withdrew from the senatorial race in full compliance with the provisions and processes specified by the Electoral Act. Noble Youth Mass Support Association, a non-governmental organization, has called on the electorate to eschew violence and promote peace in the forthcoming general elections. The national coordinator of the group, Gaudin Omonya, made the call in Gwagwalada, Abuja today. He urged electorate to view the 2019 elections as a means to enhancing the nation's democracy and socio-economic development. Omonya also advised electorates and contestants to imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship and consider the interests of country during and after the elections. He called on youths not to allow themselves to be used by desperate politicians to foment trouble or perpetrate electoral malpractices. And now straight to the foreign scene, starting from Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday said it has repatriated 65,000 of its nationals stranded in foreign countries in the last 6 months. The ministry said this in a statement issued in Addis Ababa. The country said it has repatriated stranded nationals who are using 3 illegal migration routes with plans to reach their final destinations in Europe, the Arabian Peninsula and South Africa. The ministry further said in earlier January 2019 alone, it had repatriated 690 of its nationals who were stranded in Yemen. In recent weeks, hundreds of Ethiopian migrants have also been repatriated from Mozambique, Tanzania, Libya, Sudan, and Djibouti. It is estimated that thousands of Ethiopians are trafficked into country in foreign countries annually. Similarly, Ethiopia is to commission the Chinese-built Debre Birhan Industrial Park by the end of February, state media outlet Amara Mass Media Agency reported yesterday. And finally, on the foreign scene, an Egyptian parliamentary committee on Tuesday approved proposed constitutional amendments which would allow President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to stay in power until 2034 and boost his control of the judiciary. The approval is the first step needed to move forward with the constitutional changes, which are expected to be finally endorsed by Parliament and then move to referendum within the next few months. The proposed amendments were submitted on Sunday to the Speaker of Parliament, who heads the committee that made the changes. And the changes need approval by 2/3 of Parliament members, followed by a referendum. And that's all on the news. Thanks for watching. I am Poloum David. I'll leave you with sports news from Merciful Ajinomo.